welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're looking at something, well, it's a pretty brief mention actually.
Just a fragment, really.
Yeah, a mention of an India-Pakistan war connected to something called Operation Sindhoor. That's pretty much all our source gives us. So our aim today is to try and unpack what this operation could have been about.
And why even such a small reference might, hold some real historical weight for you.
Exactly. Let's get into it.
Okay, so first off, the mention of a war between India and Pakistan, that immediately signals something significant.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not a minor event. And adding a specific name, Operation Sindhoor.
Right. That suggests as it wasn't just general hostilities. It points to maybe a defined phase or a specific planned military action.
A specific event within a larger conflict, perhaps.
Could be. Or maybe the operation was the main event for a period. Hard to tell.
Okay, so Operation Sindhoor. Let's brainstorm a bit. What might that mean, given the, history there?
Well, the most obvious possibility is some kind of military operation.
Like an offensive push?
Yeah.
Maybe into disputed territory?
Or it could be defensive, responding to something. Maybe large scale, maybe more focused.
A strategic initiative, perhaps? Something with specific goals, but maybe not a huge geographical footprint?
Precisely. And you have to remember the long history, border issues, tensions flaring up. Any named operation probably fits into that complex picture somehow.
Does the name Sindhoor itself offer any clues? Does it have specific connotations?
It certainly could. Sindhoor has cultural and symbolic weight in the region. It might hint at the operations location, maybe its objective, or even just its codename significance.
Interesting. And this is where the lack of detail in our source is, well, telling in itself.
How so?
The fact that it's mentioned at all, even just the name connected to a war, it suggests that maybe within the context of India-Pakistan relations, this Operation Sindhoor is or was considered somewhat noteworthy.
Right. It wouldn't be mentioned, even in passing, if it was completely insignificant. It prompts the question, what kind of event gets named and remembered like this?
So, for you listening, it makes you think about the possible objectives. What do operations in that context usually aim for?
Historically, well, you often see conflicts over territory, especially disputed areas like Kashmir.
Control of resources, too. Strategic points.
Absolutely. Or sometimes it's about responding to perceived aggression or trying to change the strategic balance. Operation Sindhoor likely fits into one or more of those categories.
Even without the details, thinking about those typical motivations helps frame its potential importance. What could the stakes have been?
Hi, almost certainly. Any direct military operation between India and Pakistan carries significant risk and consequence.
Understanding when this might have happened would also be crucial.
Definitely. Pinpointing a time frame could link it to known periods of escalation or specific conflicts we already know about.
Was it part of the 71 war? Or earlier? Or later? We don't know from this source.
No, but finding that out would shed a lot of light on its likely nature and impact.
Okay, so let's quickly recap. Our source gives us this bare mention. An India-Pakistan war, Operation Sindhoor.
We've talked about how this could mean anything from a major offensive to a specific strategic move.
And we've highlighted that any named operation in this context is likely significant simply because it involves India and Pakistan.
The lack of detail itself sort of underscores its potential weight, suggesting it's a known event, at least in some circles.
Yeah, it implies a story exists, even if our source doesn't tell it.
The key takeaway here, I think, is that even tiny fragments like this reference to Operation Sindhoor can be a starting point.
A window into that really complex history.
Exactly. Into periods of conflict, strategic decisions, high tension. It signifies something happened.
Which leads us to a final thought for you to consider. Given everything we know, or rather don't know, specifically about Operation Sindhoor, what parts of the broader India-Pakistan history might help illuminate this? Think about specific time periods, known conflicts, maybe even the geography along the border.
Where might you look to find out more about what Operation Sindhoor could have been and why it mattered?
Something to explore further. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.